back to my channel. My name is Areli. I'm a medical doctor, plant-based doctor, and I've been eating a raw food diet for over 4 years. And with me, I have my friend, Lisa Maris. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your channel. I absolutely adore you and all the conversations that we've had. You are amazing. My name is Lisa, for those who might not know. I have Raw Food Romance on Instagram and Lissa's Raw Food Romance on YouTube. And I've been a raw vegan for 7.5 years, and I'm vegan for the animals and for the planet, and I'm raw because I enjoy it. I love eating a raw vegan diet, and I do it because I want to do it. I don't do it because I have to do it or I'm forcing myself into it. I really enjoy it. So I'm really excited for our chat today because it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. And, Lisa and I have the same approach to raw veganism. Whenever I don't eat raw, which is not a sin, it's nothing to be ashamed of. But if I do it occasionally, I just know how my body feels. And I struggled, being raw vegan for 2 years before committing myself to this lifestyle because I knew that my body was asking for it. So yeah, at this point, I would say like I'm 99% raw vegan. Occasionally I have some things that are not considered raw, but it's just like if 99% of your diet is raw, I feel like you can get all the benefits. We are not like extreme, like that 1% is not going to reduce your lifespan by 1 year or
exactly.
Whatever.
No, yeah, I agree totally. And I feel like a lot of people feel like they need to be 100% raw. And then that's kind of leads us into the topic of our talk is
Yes.
about the extremes, because it's really not about the diet. When it comes to veganism. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not the end of the world if you're not 100%. It's about eating more raw and getting more raw varieties and abundance of calories and really just enjoying your life.
Exactly. For me, like enjoying my life, it doesn't, it's not constricted to diet, but I know that diet plays an important role. So the way I can feel through the rest of my day. So for me, raw is the answer. And that's why I'm committed to stay raw because it's a form of respecting, feeling at my best all the time. But, when I said, I'm not going to be raw 100% this night, it's not, nothing happens, and I feel like I don't want to digress from the topic. The topic of this video is basically addressing the main issues why some people may come back or return to animal products because they feel like a vegan diet or raw vegan diet is deficient. So I don't know, Lisa, what would you say? I mean, first of all, veganism is not a diet, correct?
Yes. So veganism is not a diet. It's an ethical stance against the exploitation of animals. So veganism isn't a diet, but diet is a big part of veganism. So as a vegan, we choose to not put our dollars towards animal exploitation. And it just so happens that we eat 3+ times a day. And a lot of those foods, unfortunately, have animal products in them. So as a vegan, we choose not to exploit animals, which includes the foods that we eat. So even though some people say, oh, I'm on a vegan diet, maybe they're just on a plant-based diet. But if you're a vegan because you stand against the exploitation of animals. So that's kind of a little bit of a difference between the vegan diet and the vegan ethical stance, because it's not actually a diet. And I feel like a lot of people get that mixed up and they feel, oh, I'm just going to be on a vegan diet, but without realizing that a vegan is actually someone who does not consume animals, not because it's a diet, but because of their stance, their ethical stance.
Exactly. And along the same lines, I feel like some people go vegan because it's either trendy or their favorite celebrity is doing it, or because they heard that it's good and it's plant-based, and they are at the beginning confused and they interpret it, oh, it's vegan, must be healthy, or it's plant-based, must be healthy, when in reality, you need to really educate yourself to do it in a proper way. So you're not, intoxicating yourself with all these fillers. And at the same time, you're not depriving yourself because of course we cut animal products and we need to find out which plant-based sources are going to be substituting those essential nutrients.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, when they go vegan, because it's such a different way of life, or even if they just go plant-based, because remember, we have to differentiate between plant-based and vegan. But when they choose to start eating a plant-based diet, they don't realize the amount of calories that they're leaving off the plate, right? Because animal products are really, really calorie dense. So when you move over to plant-based diet, you have to eat more food. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, because when I do a lot of coaching, one of the questions I ask is, like, I ask people to give me their food journals so I can see kind of what they're doing. And they're trying really hard to do raw, but they have all these cravings. They're experiencing issues, and they don't know what's going on. But when we enter all of their food into Chronometer, it's like 1,100 calories, or I saw as low as 800. And I'm like, are you eating this every day? And she's like, yeah. And I feel full. And I'm like, oh, it's really heartbreaking, because we see these people trying to do something good and trying to make better, different choices. But unfortunately, the behaviors with the food aren't aligned, and they end up with issues later on down the road due to restrictive behaviors.
Which take us to the first point, why people may consider abandoning this lifestyle, whether they're just new into it or maybe they've been doing it for a few months or years, because this is fundamental. If we understand that the volume and nutrition required to fulfill our needs, nutritional needs, is big compared to what we used to eat before, I feel like that's the main point, right? Under eating, like you mentioned in your coaching. I have had people consulted me, and same thing. They say, okay, let me know what you eat during the day. And they say, well, this for breakfast, this for lunch, and this for dinner. And I do it like in person. Okay, I use Chronometer as a guide. It's not like super accurate, but at least it gives you, a great approach what you're doing. So I enter in front of them, and they are shocked to realize, oh my God, I'm just eating 900 calories per day. And I said, yes. And they've been doing, as you said, this for many weeks or months. So that catches up.
It does catch up. It really does catch up. And people don't realize, because plant foods are really high in hydration and water. Yes, so when you're consuming those foods, you feel fuller faster, but then you feel hungrier faster as well, because you don't have that density. Unless you add like cooked vegan foods. And again, like, we're not like raw is law. If you want to eat cooked food, or you need to eat some cooked food to like substitute those calories, go for it. The goal is to eat more raw and still to be able to maintain a plant-based or vegan lifestyle. If veganism is your ethical stance, then in order to maintain that, you have to maintain your own body fuel levels. Like, you can't go long periods without eating enough. It's so vital. And that's why I share so much on my page about eating. Make sure you eat, because I don't think a lot of people realize how much. I remember one time Nate and I went over to a friend's house, and they do raw, they're in the community and they know about raw and how much to eat and stuff. Anyways, we took our salads over there, and they were just mind blown by the size of the salads. They're like, I didn't realize that that's how much you need to eat. I'm like, yeah, that's how we are able to stay raw for so long and succeed on this lifestyle, because we eat a lot. And people think, oh, well, your whole life is about food. And it's like, really not. It seems like it is, because that's all we post on social media, because we're trying to help people. But off social media, it's not. We just love to eat raw food and enjoy our life. But
yeah, I feel like your work is very important, because that really shows people exactly how they should be doing it. And like same thing when somebody's posting their pictures like newbies, right? And I have nothing against them. I'm actually enjoying it, because I can comment on what they're doing not good. They post, oh, I had this for dinner, and I just look at it and like, no, like, you're supposed to be following like the raw vegans. I always recommend follow this, follow that, and they end up doing exactly the opposite. But everybody starts somewhere. We just want to give you tips and the reasons why some people consider going back to animal products, thinking that that's the solution. Because I agree with you, like, the vegan identity and the vegan mindset and essence is basically something that you feel. It's nothing that, how can I say, you have to be convinced about what you're going vegan. And let me give you just a suggestion, and nothing wrong. Everybody has their time. Not even my family are vegans. They're more plant-based oriented now that I've been preaching to them. But if you want to avoid issues, like especially on social media, just call yourself plant-based, right? I feel like that's a better label. Plant-based, look at my food, plant-based. Oh, I'm going plant-based. That way you are not subject to judgment, because the vegan community is a very passionate community. Like, we really feel the pain when somebody decides not to keep following this lifestyle, because we feel like betrayed for some reason. We shouldn't take it personal, but we feel, because for us, animals are like part of our family, right? So
I
it's just like,
agree.
some people are not mature, some vegan are very passionate, and they can attack or feel betrayed and hurt because you decide to do that. So I guess plant-based is a better label to use.
I agree. Yeah. And if you do decide to adopt a vegan stance, then you would do that, but you have to adopt it knowing in your, like, deep in your soul, that you are standing against animal exploitation, and it's not even an option. Like, for me, there is zero option for me to go back to eating animal products. Like, it's not even in my scope of
Me neither.
possibilities. If there was ever a problem with me, I would reach out to someone like you or other plant-based doctors or vegan doctors who could help me to find a way to address whatever situation I was in without having to resort to eating animal products. But that's because I'm a vegan and I won't be going back no matter what. I can't do it. I can't.
Like, likewise. I mean, I call myself a raw vegan doctor because I choose to eat raw vegan. But first of all, I'm vegan because I'm convinced about not harming and having everything that nature provides to us through plants rather than animals. But yeah, thank you for saying that. And definitely, under eating is something that is a big problem. I feel like it's the main issue with all these people who are having health problems because of deficiencies, right?
Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. And limiting, like we were talking earlier about the gut microbiome, because
Right.
what I had mentioned was the monocropping. I feel like we like minimalism and we like
Simplicity.
simplicity, and we think that that's awesome. And it is awesome, but it's good for your closet, it's good for your junk drawer, but it's not good for your gut microbiome, right? Like, we can't apply those same minimalistic ideas onto the gut microbiome, because the gut microbiome thrives on fiber variety, and we have to eat enough food in general to sustain ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's like monocropping a field. If somebody goes on, like, I know a lot of people in the raw vegan detox community who will do fruit islands, like they'll just eat watermelon for a whole month, or
Yeah.
they'll do like banana island where they just do bananas or something, or they do a juice fast or water fast, even where there's such low fiber and fiber variety that
Mm.
it can actually change your gut microbiome, because you're not providing enough of that. And I find that the vast majority, pretty much, I don't want to say 100% because I can never say 100%, but the very, very high percentage of people who end up going back to animal products all have the same thing in common. They are either eating only fruit or very, very small amounts of variety of fruit, or they've been excessively detoxing and cleansing constantly over and over and over again, to the point where their body is just so depleted of calories, of variety, of nutrition, and they can't even eat like a piece of broccoli without feeling like their gut is inflamed and hurtful, because they believe that fiber from greens or sprouts or whatever is damaging to the gut. I've heard that many times. They say that the fiber's too rough and it's scraping the intestinal tract. But I can eat like a massive amount of broccoli and cabbage and you name it, and I don't have any issues. I had to go slow when I started because I had to grow my gut microbiome. But now I can eat like every kind of thing and combine it all, and I don't have any issues. But it's because I worked with my gut microbiome and not against it. So I feel like that's another thing too, is the simplicity and the not just under eating, but under eating variety, which can cause a big problem too.
Yeah, and that's why we have seasons, right? Like, for example, in the summer, of course, bring all the melons. But yeah, even though I feel sometimes like eating watermelon all day, I just feel like I need to ground a little bit, and the fats, like we keep it low fat, high carb, but just adding leafy greens, adding more variety of starchy veggies, like all this fiber. And yeah, you're totally right. The microbiome has just gather a little bit of attention over the last 10 years. And, some, like everything, like if you want to exploit veganism, you're going to bring vegan burgers or things like that. If you want to exploit the new knowledge about the microbiome, you're going to bring a lot of things, like justify eating whatever so you can sell a probiotic and, just pretend that you are helping your microbiome, when in reality, the microbiome is nourished by the quality and the variety of food that we eat. So excellent point, the microbiome and the simplicity mindset. You need to really eliminate the fillers in standard American diet. And eventually you have to simplify, of course, by elimination of those fillers and become more simple in the way you eat. But simpler means plants, digest, right? Not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to eat watermelon every single day for 30 days, 60 days. As you said, it's going to destroy the gut microbiome that is going to help you to build other things. Like watermelon, yeah, it has carbs, it has hydration, a few vitamins here and there, but it doesn't have lots of calcium, protein, and things that you really need to build up everything in your body. So yeah, excellent point, the microbiome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm big on the microbiome. I feel like the variety is seriously lacking in the raw community. And that's a big issue. I mean, Nate and I just got our gut microbiome tests done in December.
Right.
And our average, like the average score that this company gets is 62%. That's the average score from the general public. Our scores were 83% for overall wellness. My diversity score was 95%.
Nice.
So I have a good variety. I just need to work on certain colonies. And without doing that test, I never would have known. I never would have started adding sunchokes and fennel seeds and asparagus and some other foods to my diet that I never ate as a raw vegan. But it's okay to embrace adding new foods if it's going to help you reach different levels of health, instead of eliminating and getting rid of everything because you believe it's not human food. It's like, oh, that's not human food. We're only meant to eat fruit, only fruit.
Right.
And fruit's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I love fruit and I eat a lot of fruit. Fruit is a big part of my diet, but so are greens, so are veggies, so are sprouts, and a little bit of nuts and seeds and like herbs and spices and the variety. Like, we need the variety. It's so important.
Yeah, exactly. And also you start building up, as you said, you don't have to eat like the full plate of, I don't know, asparagus or undigestible, like people consider undigestible starchy vegetables, right? Like you do your bed of salad with tender leafy greens and your chopped cucumbers, tomatoes, like the basics, the standard. And then you introduce a little bit like toppings or something, right? So yeah.
Exactly. Like when we first started eating more sunchokes and asparagus, because those were two things that we'd never added before, we would just take one little tiny sunchoke and grate it and just have like a tablespoon on our salad, just enough to give our gut microbiome that little bit of boost, right? So that they could start growing. And then eventually we can eat like tons of sunchokes without getting any gas or bloating, but it took months to work our way up to it.
Yeah, and you build up like everything. Let's talk about the circle of influence. I feel like if you surround yourself with people who are convincing you that what you're doing, in the case of, oh, I'm doubting if I should stay vegan or raw vegan, I should reach out to the crowd who is preaching against veganism, or if I want to stay, should I reach to the crowd who are consistent long-term and are staying there? I feel like that plays a role. I've seen that a lot. Like somebody decides to go back and then they surround themselves with the people who think like them. And for some reason, they become like, they have this animosity towards the people who are still vegan, which I don't understand, but I've seen that as a phenomenon. I don't know.
Yeah, I see it too. I feel like, honestly, if someone's going to go back, like you said, like you should label yourself plant-based to begin with. So it keeps it a little bit less intense. But if you're going to go back, like just go back and change how you're presenting yourself on social media, maybe get into a different niche, like do something different. Like don't become anti or X and like really bitter towards what you were doing, because when you were doing it, I've noticed a lot of people were like, this is amazing, I feel amazing, this is
It
amazing, or
helped them.
whatever.
It
And
helped.
it helped them. And now all of a sudden they're against it. So I feel like it's just like, just drop it and like move on with your life if you're going to do that, because it's just going to perpetuate the tension.
And the
That,
division and the judgment, like there are channels dedicated. I mean, I'm so lucky, knocking on the wood, they haven't targeted me, but there are channels dedicated to analyze, like, oh, raw vegan doctor has a wrinkle. Yeah, maybe it's because she's raw vegan, right? Like, oh, raw vegan ages you, fruit ages you, like all these myths, like so many people really focus on what vegans and raw vegans are doing just to find like a little spot and judge based on that a whole movement, rather than, oh, how many people are dying of cardiovascular disease, how many people are dying of cancer, how many people are dying of high cholesterol. Like nobody looks at that, but the opposite happens. It's quite interesting.
it is quite interesting. Yes, definitely quite interesting. And yeah, we are the sum of the top 5 people we hang out with
Yeah.
the most, right? So if we are hanging out with people who are doubting us or giving us information that is not aligned with our beliefs,
Yeah.
it can be really difficult because we can hear these things. And I mean, obviously, we want to take in all sides and not be like, not confine ourselves into veganism. Like, we want to hear what they're saying, but we don't want to surround ourselves with those kinds of people to kind of like, they're like crabs in a bucket in a way. They want you in their bucket with you, and they're going to pull you down in. And I notice that every time there's a wave of people who end up going back to animals, and I feel like every couple of years there's a group of people who end up going back. They're all in the same friend group, and you can tell that they're all sending DMs to each other on Instagram and or social media, and they're talking to each other about it, which is understandable that they want to reach out to people in their friend group. But maybe someone else is like, oh, I heard this, and they're like, oh, that makes sense, or whatever to them. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of them who are all friends all end up going back to eating animals. So it really is like the people in your friend circle and the people that you reach out to. And we're here, you guys, we are here to help you. That's the whole point. We're not here to be famous or, Instagram celebrities or whatever. We are here to help you. So reach out to Dr. Areli, reach out to me. We are here to help you discover some different perspectives and different ways that you can do your raw diet. And we really, really want to help, because by helping you, we help the animals, and we want to help everybody.
That's the end point. Like, we really want to live in a peaceful world, and part of veganism is that, like, respect for others' lives. And I feel like there are people who have a lot of traction just because probably they're more popular or younger or cooler, whatever. And obviously the one who yells louder is gonna get the most attention, when in reality, truth is never like scandalous. It's more like, reserve. The truth eventually unfolds. And I just want to see, like, the people who go back to animals, like, maybe eventually they will develop something. I don't wish that. I hope they have I don't know, carnivore diet, whatever they're doing now, more balance, and they don't forget the teachings about their years of plant-based or vegan eating. Like, hopefully they keep with them the importance of having more fiber and more variety and more nutrition coming from fresh plants in their diet, rather than abandoning altogether, because we know what happens, right, with a lack of fruit and lack of vegetables in our diets. It's one of the most, how do they call it? Every year, every couple of years, they publish the burden of disease, the global burden of disease study, where they find like 5 common denominators of why people die early. And one of them is lack of fruit, lack of consumption of fruit, and lack of consumptions of omega-3 plant-based seeds and vegetables. Wow. Yeah, so it's there. I mean, the evidence is there, but you can find evidence supporting one argument or the other. Imagine me as a doctor. There are carnivore doctors, there are paleo doctors, there are keto doctors, but there are plant-based doctors. So at the end of the day, you can argue about which diet you support, but I guess the truth is only one, and eventually the time will tell you which one you should follow. I guess.
Yeah. And also, just even though there's carnivore doctors, and even though there's paleo doctors, and even though there's vegan or plant-based doctors, what are your ethics?
Right.
Right? Like, what are your ethics? Just because a doctor does a carnivore diet doesn't mean that you should. If you don't believe in supporting animal exploitation, then it would make sense that that's what you would devote your choices to, because it really boils down to your ethics and how you feel against those. Because I mean, I've seen vegan people get sick and I've seen carnivore people get sick. I mean,
Yeah.
there is somebody I won't mention, but I remember seeing a post of somebody who follows a carnivore diet, young. I feel they're in their mid 30s, fit, really like aesthetically fit. And they went to the doctor and their neck artery was like 95% blocked.
Of course.
Just because somebody looks good does not mean that they're healthy. And I feel like, I mean, we can throw this in too, is like the diet culture, right? We are so bombarded with what it means to be healthy or what we should look like, right? Our body has to be this like perfect aesthetic. And if you have a perfect aesthetic, that automatically means you're healthy. But that's not true, because we've got people starving themselves. We've got people under eating. We've got people over exercising. We've got people taking pills and supplements and doing all kinds of things to their body to reach that ideal body shape. And then when they get there, people praise them. They're like, oh, wow, you look amazing. You're so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And if they gain 5 pounds, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what you're doing isn't right. But it's like, oh my gosh, like, let's look at your blood tests. Let's get your microbiome test. Let's see what's actually going on inside your body. You can't just go by the outside.
Yeah. Let's see if you rely on coffee just to keep yourself alert. Let's see how much you have to sleep just to wake up from the lethargy coming from eating like a greasy, high protein meal from animal products. I mean, I totally understand that, because I did Atkins before going plant-based. I had overweight during my internship year, and I approached a doctor that, by the way, she prescribed me an Atkins diet, which is similar to paleo, animal protein 3 times a day, just a little bit of veggies, no fruit. And I mean, I don't know how I survived. Of course, it helped me to lose weight, because obviously it's a reductionist approach, like every other diet, right? The keto diet, reductionist. You eliminate the junk, and obviously your inflammation falls down, and you associate that to, the animal fats. No, it's the elimination of everything else. Paleo diet, same thing. You eliminate carbs, which is, there are bad carbs, like processed refined sugars, of course. And now you're eating a more clean diet, and that's what makes you feel better, but it's not the meat. Some people use the hashtag meat heals. It's not the meat. It's just the simplicity that you're giving to your body to digest a single macronutrient, which is protein. But yeah, I can relate totally. When I was on the Atkins diet, 1 year, I survived that. I don't know how I did it. Well, I know. I drank coffee 3 times a day, used to feel alert. Yeah, definitely. I lost a little bit of weight. I didn't look great. The coffee really dehydrates you. I didn't have energy. I don't know. It was like I feel like floating. I never feel like completely satisfied. I didn't feel hungry, but I didn't feel satisfied. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. And I mean, I've tried all of them, like omnivore. I never ate standard American. I ate more Mexican standard diet when I was growing up, which is very similar to standard American, probably less unhealthy. Then I passed through Atkins and vegetarianism, cooked veganism, high raw, and now fully raw, high carb, low fat, variety of fruits and veggies. And let me tell you, and along the way, through my experience in the medical field, understanding how and why disease happens, and understanding at the microscopic level inflammation, I mean, it's just the answer. And if we go more philosophical and spiritual, it's human specific diet.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you totally. It's definitely something that people don't really realize either. And we can talk about this too, is our ancestors. I feel like a lot of people appeal to ancestry. Like they'll say, our ancestors did this and our ancestors did that, and we should be doing it as well, without realizing that I don't think a lot of people would really want to live the way our ancestors did. I think it's glamorized and romanticized what our ancestors did. And we want to go back to the simplicity because I mean, we live in cities and there's so much noise and there's so much technology and all this stuff. We want to go back to nature, and going back to nature is amazing, but we don't want to go back to a survival state. Like knowing what we know now, we don't have to go back to that. We don't have to go back to a survival state. And everything that our ancestors did was for survival.
Yeah.
Some cultures did better than others. And when we look back at the research, we can see which cultures, the blue zones, we can see the ones that fared better than the other ones that were eating differently. So we can look back at what they were doing, but each culture was only doing what they needed to survive. It just happens that some of them ate more plants than others, depending on the location and all that kind of stuff. Like I even talked to, a couple of years ago, I was talking to an anthropologist, and she was talking about, she's like, I'm vegan because it doesn't make sense, because a lot of our ancestors, she was telling me about this one group of people who would run a whole herd of animals off a cliff, and then they would eat a couple animals that had died from landing on the cliff. Like, so when we think about our ancestors, I think we don't really realize what life was really like for them. And it's romanticized and glamorized. And especially nowadays with the culture battles as well, right? People claiming like, oh, my culture and this, and that's beautiful. Like, I'm not saying anything bad against other people's cultures or anything, but it's like, where are we going to go? Where are we going to move forward from here? What are we learning new that science is showing us? Like, we need to move forward. We can still keep a lot of our traditions and our culture and stuff like that, but we can move forward and embrace science and what we know now, instead of falling back on the romanticized version of what our ancestors did.
Yeah, I mean, our ancestors, I don't know, married multiple women. Our ancestors, you know, like some things that we consider now gross or something that is not morally acceptable, they did so many things. So if we really want to go back, we should emulate everything else, not just cherry pick what is convenient to us, just to justify a misunderstanding of what they really did. And as you mentioned, like this anthropologist, another study that I read, the paleo men, the cavemen, were plant-based because they examined fecal matter from I don't know how many millions of years back. They were super high in fiber, like you said, their microbiome, the concretion of the fecal matter, there was like 95% vegetable fiber, fruits, veggies, seeds, rather than tons of meat. You know, to begin with, if you eat meat, you will not have nice poop. Like, you will be either constipated or you will not have voluminous poop, which is, you know, what you should aim for. But yeah, if you want to, there's always two schools of thought. Like, you will always find arguments supporting the paleo, the keto, whatever. But, you know, if in our case, if we want to defend the way we eat, there is more evidence to support our posture. Other people say we were not hunters. Actually, we were hunted. We were just running from we were the prey, not vice versa. So it's an important point. And if you think about it, I mean, we are collectors. We can climb trees. We have vision that allows us to distinguish colors. What fruit smells nicer, what fruit looks more ripe. So all these features, you know, so yeah, great points. I think
I know. And even if you boil it down, like, no matter the science, because there's a lot of noise going on. Right. But when it boils down to it, when we talk about veganism being an ethical stance, it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying, because you don't want to harm an animal. And something that I find really interesting too is that the chickens, even backyard chickens that lay the eggs or whatever, they are from a line of bred chickens that lay 300 plus eggs a year. That's like having your period every day as a woman.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they're bred to be like that. But way back in our ancestors' time, wild hens would lay like 12 eggs in a year. Right. So it's not something people were eating every day. They might get lucky once a year and find an egg or two. And the chickens were also really like protective of their 12 eggs. Not like these days, it's bred out of them. They're like, whatever. There's like eggs all over the place. And so even just chickens in general have been bred in an exploitive state to be what they are now. So even going and having a backyard chicken, it's come from that long line of exploitation, which is heartbreaking to me. But
yeah, I mean, make total sense. Same, I guess it's the same with cattle. This
Mhm.
massive cows that you see grassing or grazing, I feel like they're a little bit too big. Maybe they were not supposed that big, but yeah, there's lots of hormones in meat. I mean, touching base on hormones and vitamins, I feel like those cows not only get injected with growth hormones, but also, one of the arguments of people who go back to animal products is that the the plants don't have everything we need, especially essential nutrients or vitamins. And of course, let's understand what vitamin B12 and vitamin D are, because those are very important nutrients that you don't find at the moment in our industrialized modern agriculture. We don't find it in plants, but the vitamin D is obtained from the sun. If you get enough sun exposure, your cholesterol in your skin converts through the UV light those cholesterol molecules into vitamin D, active vitamin D. I feel like that's a misconception. Like, yeah, we need animals because we kind of produce those two new elements, right? Like the other is vitamin B12. I don't know if you want to explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so B12 and like you said, vitamin D. I feel like these two vitamins are so singled out because they're not in a vegan diet.
Mm.
But the thing is that B12 and vitamin D are not supposed to be acquired from our food, animal or plant. They're supposed to be acquired from our environment. Like you said, the sun, right? We're supposed to get it from the sun, but we live in cities, we live in high rises, in houses, we go to work, we're at work during the day when it's sun out, right? And we come home and we watch TV and our melatonin, our circadian rhythms, our sleep is all off. Like these are things that people don't realize either. And it's not the vegan diet that is deficient in B12 and D. It's our modern lifestyles that's deficient in B12 and D, because vitamin B12 is produced by a bacteria that is found in wild soils, in the wild earth, digging in the earth, growing a garden, being outside in nature is what's going to give you the B12.
Right.
And I think I remember when I used to work at the health food store, I think the number was 80%. I think it was 80% of the entire world's production of vitamin B12 is actually fed to livestock.
Wow. So
It was
imagine the argument, right? Like, oh, animals have it. No, they get injected.
Yeah, they get injected
Yeah.
to prevent them from having nerve damage, which is what you have when you are deficient in B12. And yes, obviously, if you're not eating animal flesh, you're not getting that supplement of B12. But there's meat eaters who are deficient in B12.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah.
Right.
There's something called pernicious anemia, which is like, or megaloblastic anemia. There's so many causes. At the end of the day, it's lifestyle related. Some are very rare genetic deficiencies of an enzyme or some ligand in your cells or something like that, like intrinsic factor, et cetera, et cetera. But that's like less than 1% of the population. So justifying going back to animal products just because plants don't have vitamin B12 is like, you cannot win that argument, because the same happens with livestock. They wouldn't get their vitamin B12 if they were not injected. Same thing with veganism. Like most of the vegan products that we find in the stores get supplemented. The cereals, the vegan cheeses, meats, etc. They get supplemented. So as raw vegans in particular, we really need to supplement no matter how long you've been. I mean, definitely test yourself if to know like how deficient you are, or if you really need it. But one of the beauty of vitamin B12 supplementation is that it's not toxic. You will never get intoxicated, especially with methylcobalamin. I feel like cyanocobalamin, maybe, if you abuse it, but methylcobalamin definitely is something that you should consider, because it directly gets absorbed in your tongue, in your circulation below your tongue, in those little vessels. It goes directly, bypasses the liver metabolism, and therefore you're fine. And you don't have to supplement every day. I just encourage as much as I can the vegans who are suffering from depression or anemia, or some people have strokes, unfortunately, in our community. And Everybody's trying to find out why strokes. Well, because vitamin B12 is necessary to keep the homocysteine levels low. So just don't quote me on this. I think it's homocysteine has to be low, maybe high, but I think it's low. Vitamin B12 regulates the homocysteine levels. And if you have abnormal homocysteine levels, you are predisposed to get strokes. So it's not only anemia, or it's not only like a, you know, another supplement. It intervenes in so many aspects in your metabolism. So stay
Very
protected through
important.
B12 supplementation to avoid strokes, to avoid depression. There are so many depressed vegans. I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, we have the reason, right? Like we really want to change the world, or at least to make a more conscious world. And it's very difficult because we cannot change people's opinions or ways of living. But at the same time, it may be B12 deficiency. So pay attention to that.
Yeah. And on that note too, like I think people put so much value and heaviness on the diet itself, like the food that we're eating. And that's obviously a big part of it, but people aren't sleeping properly. They're not exercising properly. They're not breathing properly. Maybe they're constantly stressed out because they hate their job. Maybe they're in toxic relationships. Maybe like, you know, like there's so many things that come into play. They're not hydrating themselves. That's another big one. I feel like a lot of people feel like if they're just eating fruit, then they can just not drink water. But I personally, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 8 years now. When I drink water, I feel better. It's just
Me too.
part of it. Like, yeah, I feel like people are just not addressing other aspects to health as well. So like if you're not sleeping properly and you're eating a vegan diet, you might think it's the vegan diet, but it's actually the fact that you're not sleeping properly, right? So we have to not just address the diet, but address what else we're doing in our life as well. You're watching 4 hours of Netflix every night. Yeah, you're probably not going to feel that good, no matter what diet you eat.
There are many memes, vegan memes about like, oh, I have a pimple in my head, must be the raw vegan diet. Or, oh, I hit myself in the elbow the other night, it must be the diet. Like everything should be related to diet. It's the perfect scapegoat, right? To not take responsibility and to be a victim, when in reality, we want to encourage you to take control of what you're eating, take control of what you're doing. You know, I really like this quote that says, your medicine is your lifestyle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So powerful, right? It's not only diet, it's how much sleep you're getting, your relationships. What are your thoughts? Like, are you a judgmental person? Well, karma is a bitch. I'm sorry, but you know, yeah, what you sow, how was that saying?
Yeah, what you sow, you reap.
Yes.
Yeah. I know our thoughts are so incredibly powerful, and it all works together, right? Like you can't eat a perfect, quote unquote, perfect diet, but then not sleep, right? And you can't have a perfect sleep, but then eat junk food. Like you have, everything comes into play. So working on our thoughts, working on our stress management, working on our sleep schedules, and actually valuing sleep. I feel like a lot of people don't value sleep the way it should be valued.
I'm a culprit. Yes.
And I was too. Nate and I, where's my book here? I read this one.
Okay.
Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. This book, I mean, I like to say that the raw vegan diet changed my life, but that book actually changed my life again.
Oh yeah.
Because I always knew the importance of sleep. I think we all know that sleep is important. It's just a given. Like we need to sleep, and we know how we feel when you have a good sleep. It's amazing. We're like, sleep is awesome, right? We love sleep. But I never valued it because I didn't have the wisdom. The wisdom is the knowledge and practice, right? So like you take the knowledge, you have to actually do something with the knowledge, right?
Yes.
Work on your sleep schedule. So Nate and I, for the last almost 3 months now, we've been really diligent with going to bed at 9 o'clock. Our phone goes off at 8:15, and at 8:15, we drop what we're doing. No matter, even if we're watching a really good TV show, we turn it off because we can always watch it the next night. It's not going anywhere. Yes. So we turn off the TV, we turn off our screens. We try to not be online after 7 if we can. I mean, sometimes we are because we're running the bundle right now. So bundle, buy the link in the description. But we turn off our screens, we turn off everything that we're doing. We go in the bedroom. I do my skincare routine. Nate does his skincare routine. Sometimes we stretch, and then we read. We read uplifting, wonderful, like happy stuff, or we read informational stuff where we're learning something, because the best time to go to sleep is right after you learn something, because then the brain actually can store those memories better. But we do this, like it takes about 45 minutes for us to do our evening routine. And I actually look forward to my evening routine every night, because it's become such a beautiful routine. I look forward to it. And then we have a perfect, awesome 8 hours of sleep. And we're waking up at like 5:30 in the morning without an alarm. And then we get up and we go outside. We do our 1.5 hour walk. We get our 10,000 steps in before it's even like 8 o'clock in the morning. And we're eating earlier. We're getting more calories in as soon as we wake up. We're fueling our walk. And our days are just like, I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, I'm way more focused. I have way more energy. And I've been doing this like the raw diet for 7.5, almost 8 years.
Yeah.
And sleep has been incredible. And now Nate's getting into breath. And that's something that we haven't, I mean, we all know how important it is to work on our breath, but right, we're always evolving and we're always changing and we're always doing new things and new habits to get us to different levels, or just to experience life in a different way. But to simply feel like, my diet is lacking because my sleep is lacking, so I'm going to go back to eating animals because I feel low energy. Maybe it's your sleep. Like, I don't think people really think about those, because sleep is just sleep. Like, we don't really put too much value on it.
Yeah, maybe in your course, right, in the Raw Vegan Bundle, there is a mini course about how to help your cravings, or how to mitigate your cravings, and probably you touch base on sleep, correct?
I do. Yeah. And I even have a little meditation that you can listen to. It's like, I think it's 12 minutes, 10 or 12 minutes long, and you can listen to it as you're going to sleep.
Nice.
To help you to enjoy that process. And I also have a little PDF in there with the top tips on how to improve your sleep, because it's important. I don't think people really realize how important it is.
Super important. I mean, I feel like part of my problems, because I mean, probably you touch base on your mini course, but let me just explain a little bit more. If you're trying to lose weight, as women, like we say, we keep this image, right? Like, oh, we need to be slim so we can, promote this lifestyle, because if we look like, I don't know, bad, maybe people are not going to believe us. I mean, looks are, part of the benefits of this lifestyle. But if you're trying to lose weight, and if you're not sleeping properly, your cortisols levels are always up. And that doesn't allow you to reduce your belly below your how do you call it? Oh my God, belly button. Below that little pouch of fat is cortisol based. So if you're not sleeping properly, no matter how much you fast, use mono meal eating, whatever, that is hormonal related. So take control of your sleep, and that's gonna take care of itself.
Yeah. So important. I love that we're talking about this, because a lot of people just feel like, and a lot of people too are younger, and they might not really have the wisdom and the life experience that we might have acquired over our lives. And we want them to reach out to us, and so that we can help them. It's so important. Please reach out. Please reach out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even as I have a busy schedule, I'm still in the in the matrix, working as a doctor. Thank God I'm a pathologist. I don't prescribe anything to any people. But even with my busy schedule, like if people reach out like, oh, I'm thinking about quitting veganism because of this or that, I will for sure help you out. So even in the comment section, or send me a private message, we will do it. we
will work with you.
What else? So we talk about supplements, ethical stance, microbiome, detoxing forever.
That's a big one. Yeah. Like we mentioned before, I feel like most of the vast majority of people from the raw vegan community were always constantly doing some form of cleanse or detox. And when you're constantly in that cycle of cleansing and detoxing and cleansing and detoxing, your gut microbiome is suffering. So then when you do start to eat more variety, because you want to refeed and you want to build your body, your gut microbiome is not at the same level anymore. And you might feel like, oh, if I eat this broccoli, I get lots of gas and bloating and it's painful. And so it's bad. So then you want to go back on your cleanse because you felt good. But the reason why you feel good on your cleanse is exactly what you were talking about earlier. You're eliminating all of the stuff that's causing the gut to be stimulated in a way. But I was talking to a girl earlier this morning about this topic, and I was like, imagine with this logic, if fiber makes you have gas, imagine this logic. If you go to the gym and you have a really heavy workout and the next day you're sore and you're like, I'm sore because I went to the gym, so I'm not going to go to the gym ever again.
Yeah.
Right? It's that kind of logic. It's like, because I ate the vegetables with a weak gut, maybe you had weak muscles and that's why the gym made you sore, because you're building muscle. That's how it works, right? And we know that. But in order to build a gut microbiome, you have to eat the fiber. Just go slow, like at the gym. You're not going to go to the gym and suddenly start lifting 50 pounds with weak muscles. You're going to start with the 5s. Right. And then you work up to the 10s, and then you'll work up to the 12s, right? And you're going to work slowly with your muscles. Same with the gut microbiome. But claiming that fiber is bad because you have a reaction to it is a little short-sighted, because it's just like the workout analogy. We have to work with our guts and not against them, and not to eliminate fiber because we're trying to grow our gut microbiome. But yeah, then they want to go back on their cleanse because it's fiberless, and then they feel better because their gut just isn't being stimulated.
Such a great analogy that about the gym. Yeah, so on point. And I like that approach. Like, let's build our microbiome. Let's make it stronger by incorporating all this variety of vegetables and fruits, because, you know, it's I feel like if you want to plant a seed in the sand on the beach, there is no sustenance. There is no structure to support the growth of a seed. You will not grow, you know, vegetables in the sea, in the beach. You won't, because it's so soft. There is no sustenance. So when you build a microbiome, you have like the soil similar to a compost, and the compost has everything you need for that seed to grow. So it's exactly the same with nutrition. We will not assimilate the same raw vegetables and fruit if we don't have build up that microbiome, who is very strong and ready to digest all of that. And, you know, it's a very underestimated organ. Actually, some authors consider the microbiome another organ in the body.
I agree.
The skin is the largest organ. Yes, but the microbiome has the bigger amount of living organisms, and they outnumber us. Imagine that. So there, I think the number, if I'm correct, is 3 times more, or if not 10 times more, or even 100. I don't know. But if we have millions of cells, the microbiome are trillions, you know, just to put an example. Some people call it the gut is our second brain. Gut meaning our digestive tract, lined by all these bacteria, parasites, viruses, fungi, benign. They allow the digestion of all these variety of fruits and veggies and seeds, etc. But at the same time, cover our lining so the pathogenic microorganisms do not grow. So candida issues, things of that nature. So let's build our microbiome. Let's not just constantly cleanse, because you will never be 100% clean. That's why we have our liver. That's why, you were mentioning breathing. Detoxification happens through breathing. That's why the importance of exercise. When you are exercising, you breathe heavily, and that's when you expel everything that is not longer serving you. Same thing with movement. You propitiate the peristalsis, which is you want to go to the restroom to excrete all the things that no longer serve you. I don't know, so much stuff that we can touch.
Oh, I know, so much stuff. And I was thinking when you were talking about how people who go back to eating animals, they say that we don't digest fiber, right? That's a common rebuttal or whatever. Okay. But they are half correct, because our bodies don't digest fiber. Our gut microbiome digests the fiber. Yeah. And in the fiber, there's like butyrate, and the polyphenols are released only in the fermentation process. And that is from the gut microbiome. That's their food. And when they eat that, they provide us all kinds of awesome stuff that we need too. And we live symbiotically with them. And I feel like it's interesting to me when I see people going on really long juice fasts and they're like, I'm nourishing every single cell in my body. And I'm like, well, you're missing over half of them because they live on fiber, right? And I know there's a little bit of fiber in juice, like soluble fiber, but they want all of it. They want the whole food. Yeah. So yeah, they need that fiber. And if you want to nourish every cell in your body, eat the whole food the way nature made it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's time for everything, but we just don't want to. I mean, I'm not against using like short term. Like some people need to kind of reset, kind of like get rid of cravings. I know that the way we do it, you know, you and other long-term raw vegans, I feel like staying consistent with this lifestyle is more difficult. I think I heard that from you and Raw Vegan Ginger, one live that you were doing. It's harder to be consistent than to, oh, I'm going to do this extreme fast so I can cleanse and not have no longer cravings, etc. Yeah, that's not difficult. You can deplete your.
That's not hard.
Right? That's not hard. The hardest part is to stay consistent, and you can definitely attain those that level of cleansiness, if you will, by just eating the right way and eliminating everything else. But you know, I feel like some people just have this stigma, or they just want to do it to give their body a rest, whatever, you know. Yeah, do a juice fast for a week and you reset your whatever, but extend it, I just don't feel like it's necessary. But you know, hopefully we don't get a lot of backlash from the juicing community. We are not saying that juicing is bad. We're just saying like forever juicing and going back to the same patterns will never build the microbiome.
Exactly. It's so important. And Nate and I will have a juice every once in a while, like fresh orange juice or whatever, but it's not part of our diet. Like we don't own a juicer, and we will go, like there's a place here in Vegas that has some fresh cold pressed juices, and we've gone there a couple times, but it's really expensive.
Yeah.
And it's like a once in a while kind of thing. Or maybe we'll go to Whole Foods. They have some cold pressed orange juice and we'll grab one every once in a while, but it's not the base of our diet. Right. The base of our diet is whole food, lots of fiber, lots of variety. And we aim to get more variety because we value our gut microbiome, because they're part of us. They live with us, and we have to provide them with that too, so that they can provide us 90% of our serotonin. Like we, you know, speaking of the sad, depressed vegans, or people who are really angry all the time on a vegan diet, maybe like they really have to look at their gut microbiome, because 90% of our serotonin is made in our gut, and that's our happy hormone.
Yeah, definitely. So true. So yeah, forever cleansing, you know, that will lead you to nutritional deficiencies and caloric restriction, and therefore you're going to feel like, oh, it's a raw vegan diet, that's why I need to go back to animal foods. No, just be honest with yourself, what you are doing that led you to make those decisions. Maybe you just need to change your approach, tweak your patterns, tweak your habits within the raw vegan lifestyle, and see what happens. Not necessarily is everything, you know, going back to animals. I just feel like there's a lot of misinformation. And if you want to justify going back to animals by saying that this diet is efficient, you will not sound very smart, I would say. And in the long run, probably you will find out that, oh, I was wrong, you know?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of ego is involved as well, because they want to hold on to either the detox community or whatever it is that they're trying to hold on to.
Yeah.
And eventually that crumbles, and then they end up going back to eating animals because they were trying so hard to hold on to either the detox or the fasting or whatever it is that they're trying so hard to hold on to. And then they end up going back to animal products. Whereas if they would have just released it and said, maybe I need to, like you said, tweak my approach. Maybe I need to be open to eating cooked vegan food. Maybe I need to be open to eating more calories. Maybe I need to take self-responsibility and really realize what my relationship with food really is. Because I think a lot of people go from very disordered eating patterns on a raw vegan to very disordered eating patterns on animal products.
Yeah.
So it really has nothing to do with the food, but everything to do with our belief system and our relationship with food. And just hopping around from one extreme diet to the next isn't the answer, because they're just going to follow into another extreme diet if they don't find balance.
I've noticed that, like, the extremes, it's always the extremes, or you're like a very purist, simplistic raw vegan user, and yeah, like kind of like living in the prana state, or you're going like zero veggies, zero fruit, just meat, or raw meat, or organs. It's just like, ah.
Yeah. There's no middle ground, it seems. I mean, or very little, right? Like they go from one extreme to the next without finding that balance or being open to it. Like I said, like we hold so hard onto those specific things when they should be holding so hard onto veganism, right, or the ethics, right? And be open to eating cooked foods. Like I always say, I'm a raw vegan because I love eating raw food. I don't force myself to eat raw food. It's not a struggle to eat raw food. I enjoy it. I enjoy how my body feels. And therefore that's what I choose. But I'm not like restricting myself from ever eating cooked food. I just don't want it. But if I needed it, if it was essential for me to continue to stay vegan, I would eat it. Like I'm not against that. And I have a really healthy relationship with food where it would be an option for me, because there is zero option for me to go back to eating animals. I would gladly release the raw mindset in order to stay vegan, because that's where it is most important for me. I just happen to love raw food and that's all I want to eat.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes us feel better. I mean, I know, coming from a cooked vegan, healthy cooked vegan, high raw background, I just, there is no difference the way we feel. But, the second probably healthiest version is cooked healthy vegan, and I have no issues whatsoever. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want to say something else. I think that we touched on so many important things.
Yeah, we did. And yeah, all I would like to say is, in the end, message us. If you are having issues, please reach out, because we are here to help you to find different perspectives and to really challenge your current beliefs, because sometimes, like I said, we try to hold on so hard to certain things without realizing that we could do something a little different to make it work for us and give our bodies time. I feel like people don't give our bodies enough time to adjust to, say, a higher fiber, higher variety diet. And it's like they eat one thing and they're like, oh, it doesn't work. Just like sleep, for example. It took Nate and I like 2 months of consistently going to bed at 9 o'clock before we really noticed the benefits.
Yeah.
It was 2 months. And a lot of people don't want to wait 2 months. They're like, they do it for a week and they're like, whatever. It didn't really make a difference, but you got to stick with it. And I don't think people give themselves as much time with the new changes that they're doing, right? Because maybe they've been raw vegan for 3 years and they're like, I'm feeling like I need to go back, but they're not willing to do certain other things instead, like add other foods to their diet or work with their gut microbiome or get tested, get their blood tested, get their gut microbiome tested, get their omega-3s tested, get these things on point before making a choice based on what other people are saying or what they think, because they're trying to hold on so hard to those core beliefs that they have, that they're willing to release everything and go in the complete opposite direction, which is so interesting to me. Very interesting to me.
It takes years to change. I mean, even myself, like I was 4 months into raw veganism after my 2 years of high raw veganism. And I feel like, yes, I've mastered. But at the 6-month mark, I was like, really, am I doing this right? So just trying to figure out what works for my body, for my gender, for my stature, for my activity levels, for my profession, like a lot of factors that we need to take into consideration, the amount of calories that I really need and all that, taking responsibility, monitoring yourself, knowing your body. I guess like the purpose of eating this way is to know yourself, know what you really need, because there are not two raw vegans that eat the same. I feel like for example, you and Nate eat the same because you live together. But if you compare my diet with your diet, yes, we keep the same principles: high fiber, high fruit, high veggies, low fat, high carb. But I don't know, today I had a plantain. You probably eat plantains on the weekends, so it's just, trying to find your way. But if you need help, reach out.
Yeah, definitely reach out and take care of yourself. Be gentle with yourself, nourish yourself, and please know that you're worthy of nourishment. I feel like so many people don't feel like they're worthy of eating enough, or they're scared to eat more. and they're stuck in diet culture, believing that they need to restrict or eat simply. Just know that you are worthy and you are enough and you deserve to nourish your body.
Yes, well
Mhm.
said.
Uh,
All right, so let's talk about the bundle. I feel like what
Woo!
you're doing with Chris is super important because I would love to have this option when I was transitioning to raw veganism. I would have avoided lots of mistakes, falling off the wagon when I was transitioning. I feel like this is an important resource for anybody who is considering going more raw or committing to a raw vegan lifestyle. So, what is in the bundle, Lisa, in a nutshell?
Oh, in a nutshell. Oh my gosh, there's so much good
So much.
stuff in the bundle. So you contributed a
Yeah, I
recipe
did
to the
two
group
recipes.
book. You have two actually
Yeah,
in the group book. So
yeah.
there's an exclusive group collaboration by all of us raw vegans. We all got together and we made a special exclusive raw vegan potluck recipe ebook, which is only available in the bundle. It will not be available anywhere else. So definitely go check that out. The link in the description box below. But we also have there's 36 items, including that exclusive book, my brand new, and by the way, everything in the bundle is unreleased. So it's all brand new. We made brand new content just for this bundle. My new Checkmate Your Cravings mini course. I think there's over 30 videos. There's 5 meditation videos. There's over 200 pages of information all about cravings and how to deal with them. My husband,
Almost
Nate,
like a 200 or $300, right? And it's
yeah,
in the bundle for $49. And it's
yeah,
only one mini course out of how many? I mean, that
yeah, there's 36 items in there, including Nate's Sprouts, Krauts, and Microgreens course. I think there's like 5 or 6 hours worth of content in there. He teaches you how to grow sprouts in your home, how to ferment vegetables like sauerkraut and carrots and all kinds of stuff. He's got some recipes in there too. And then how to grow microgreens, all different kinds, how to grow amaranth and pea and sunflower right in your own office. He's got the whole mini course. And yeah, all of the mini, like everything that you're getting in the bundle is $49. Just one payment of $49. You get everything, including the exclusive book, my course, Nate's course. There's a course from Karen Ramsey on healthy hormones. Everything is raw. Everything is new and everything is yours for $49. You click the link and go check out all the goodies because Chris Kendall has his new summer meal plan. There's a raw vegan sushi course in there. There's a course from Rennie and Jesse called Raw Vegan Solutions, which would be a really helpful addition to this video. If people are having issues on a raw diet, their mini course is so good. There's so much information in there. Matt has a 21-day transformation program. There's incredible, all the stuff that's in
a
there.
lot of value condensed in a digital format for $49 and only lasts until the offer finishes on April 11th, correct?
Yeah, April 11th at midnight Pacific time. It
Yeah.
will be gone. So, and you won't be able to get this bundle like this again. Every time we do the raw bundle, there's always new stuff.
Right.
So if anyone likes this bundle, now's the time to get it because you'll never be able to get this bundle again.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I mean, even myself, I need to learn Nate's course because, people are worrying about food shortages and all that stuff. What a better way to not having to suffer even if you live in an apartment, you can grow your own greens, you can ferment, you can, I am doing sprouts. So yeah, there are different solutions for sure.
Definitely. It's worth it, you guys. Go grab it. Click the link below and you'll be able to find all the stuff. Plus, if you're listening to this during the bundle, you can go to the website, click the link, go to the website, and at the top, there is an option for the menu where you can see all the lives that are that are happening right now. It's kind of like a big online festival. We're going live with each other on Instagram and on YouTube, and there's food demos and talks and all kinds of good stuff. So go check it out. Even if you just come for the lives, come and learn.
Yeah, definitely. And check out all the authors. All of them are long-term, serious, responsible, raw vegan who have been thriving with this lifestyle for many, many years. I mean, I'm kind of like a newbie. I'm 4 years and 3 months in this lifestyle. I've been high raw before and cooked vegan before, but people who have been doing this for 10, 20, 30 plus years, and they write and put all their knowledge and condense it in this little package for you, which is full of wisdom and knowledge. So check it out. Go to the link in bio, go to the description box and purchase it before April 11, 2022.
Awesome. Oh, this was such a good conversation.
I love it. I learned a lot from you, really. Like, you've explored so many things on your side, and on my side, I've explored many other things. And that's the beauty of, coming together and sharing. Yeah.
Love that. I know. I love that so much. And that's what people can benefit from too, is just listening in on our conversations and learning from, because we learn from everybody. You don't have to be a raw vegan for 20 years too, right? Like some people learn things, and I've learned things from people who've only been doing it for 4 months. I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Right. So yeah, there's something for everybody, and it's definitely worth it to listen in and to be open-hearted and to really accept the message. And again, like we said, take self-responsibility, because you are in charge of your choices. Yeah. You are in charge.
Definitely. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for this live and for your time and for organizing this bundle. Thank you for the opportunity. As I said, I have 2 recipes in the potluck group book. So yeah, it's been great so far, being surrounded by like-minded people. And yeah, we're here to support you. And subscribe to Lisa's channel, Raw Food Romance, and all social media platforms, right?
Yeah. Okay. Raw Food Romance. Raw Food Romance.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Bye.